It's been 4 weeks since the 2021 Supercross season wrapped up in Salt Lake, and it somehow feels like both 1 second and one lifetime since we last saw these guys on the track and sweated our entire Saturday afternoons away, stressing over each and every rider we want to put on our team. Are you all ready to do it again? Because it is time for the first of 12 rounds of the outdoor season, baby. Welcome back to Roto Moto. My name is Donnie, and in this video, I'll cover 5 riders I want you to look at when making your PulpMX fantasy picks, tips for picking FFL, the weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team could be come Saturday. But first, I have just a few things to remember about playing fantasy motocross as opposed to fantasy supercross. This won't serve as a how to play. If you are looking for that, you can find a link in the description, but instead it will be a few things to keep in mind before you make your picks for round 1. First, the point structure. The Supercross structure sees 26 for the winner, 23 for second, and 21 points for third, and so on. But Outdoors rewards 1 less point for each spot in the top 4 and 2 less points for 5th position. This means that scoring in general are going to be lower per rider per race, and because of the reworked values, a 10th place finish, which would have been worth 26 points on a double eligible rider, is now only worth 22. In fact, if you want to score the same or better than the best all-star, you need those double eligible riders to finish 8th or better instead, upping the ante just that much and making multiple all-stars just a little bit more viable. In addition, because you are picking each rider to score in 2 consecutive races, you really need to do your best to stay away from those zeros, as a huge crash or a privateer mechanical in Moto 1 could be up to a 100-point swing by the end of Saturday. This makes the all or nothing guys with high DNF rates a total flight risk, as you need them to put it together not just once but twice for a total of 70 minutes on track to really pay off for the risk that they cost. How many times last year did Jerry Robbins score near 50 points in Moto 1 before putting up 0 in the second? I would personally rather not answer. If you select an FFL or first to the finish line and you get it right, you earn 15 points, and if you were wrong, you lose 7, same as in Supercross. But this is more favorable because in the outdoor rounds, you actually get 2 chances at it. If your guy leads the first lap in either of the 2 motos, you take home the full 15 points, regardless of what happens in that second moto. And no, there's no doubling up. If he takes both or loses both, you still only score 1 time. The outdoor series will see many more local pros show up and throw down a blistering fast lap in timed practice than in Supercross, because these guys live and breathe their local tracks, circling the track hundreds if not thousands of times before the top guys have to split their attention with the other circuits. This always misleads a ton of people into picking them based off of that qualifying, but putting down a heater and lasting for 70 minutes in the grueling summer heat are 2 completely different things. These guys usually lead to some of the highest scores of the year, but be wary as they also lead to a lot of double DNFs and bad track position because they do not know how to get off the line. And finally, remember that there are 40 guys in each moto, which means there are no just make the main and get guaranteed point picks. The handicaps go all the way up to 18th in outdoors, but a 40th place means even an 18 can score literally 0 points. Where a guy could take a good start and hold off the job squad for 4 minutes to sneak into the main, there's no faking it here in outdoors. You need skill, equipment, and endurance to score outdoor points, and only the strongest will survive. Pick smart and stay off the ground because there is no mercy. Alright, on to your 2021 outdoor opener picks for Fox Raceway. I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy to look at for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. Starting with your 250 All-Star, we're kicking it off with a bang. I'm about to burst a lot of bubbles here because I do not want you to pick Hunter Lawrence. I feel like he's going to be one of the higher pick trends for All-Stars, as he has somehow outdid his super impressive brother last year in Supercross, but I gotta go with the data. It has been a long time since his moto winning performance of 2019, and his Supercross skills have definitely improved immensely. But I can't get over his 2021 outdoor performance, in which he scored exactly 0 podiums. In fact, he is the only all-star that raced at even a single moto last year that did not hit the podium. Even worse, 5 of those guys went on to win a moto, but Hunter's best finish was 4th at Thunder Valley, and he finished outside of the top 10 in 10 of his 16 motos. Could he possibly be that bad again? That's pretty improbable. He's a premier talent in the sport and has one of the rising stars, but there is no upside with all-stars. I'd rather go with the tried and true results to lock in those 50 points. A 250 rider that I do want you to look at is double point eligible Jarrett Fry at an 8. After making his debut last year, a lot of people had high hopes that he could possibly battle with the title contenders on his team indoors, but his recent Supercross campaign was a disaster that soured many a Pulp player. But you can't be too hard on a true Supercross rookie. What Fry did do, however, was log 4 consecutive top 10 motos to end his rookie season, and he should have no problem staying out of trouble on the premier bikes in the class. He is one of only 3 riders in both classes in 2020 to have every finish of his year fall inside the handicap that he has for the opening round, and the only one with the privilege of having a factory bike between his legs. Moving on to the 450 class, let's talk All-Stars with 4 guys tied with 2 handicaps. I'm not really interested in trying to guess the podium, so let's look at some breathing room. Let's look at a 6 handicap Justin Barcia. Bam Bam quietly finished 7th in the standings last year, so a 6 doesn't seem like that much of a steal, but he did miss the final 3 motos of the year due to injury and finished with his current handicap or better in 75% of motos. The highest of all All-Stars, by the way. Of his 15 motos, only twice did he cross the finish line outside of the top 7, with the other 2 occurrences being mechanical failures caused by a bike that he is plagued with no longer. A 450 rider where double points that you should look for is Joey Savacci. This was a hotly contested pick for me with a ton of really good options in that mid-pack of handicaps, including Christian Craig, Mac Anstey, Dean Wilson, and Justin Bogle, but I went with Savacci because he is the only one of these 4 to not miss at least one weekend due to injury this year, and he should be able to improve on his results of the previous year, as it is pretty unanimous that the Rocky Mountain KTM is a stronger machine than his JGR Suzuki was. Joey finished last season 11th in points despite missing the final 4 motos. Before that, all he did was log 6 consecutive top 10s and 8 of the last 9. In fact, the only time he finished outside of the top 12 were a mud race mechanical and a DNF at Ironman. The high handicap hero is awarded every week to a rider that has a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a great chance of bringing home a ton of points for those of you comfortable with gambling with a high handicap. For Outdoor Moto, these low teen handicaps are not nearly as risky, as Outdoor doesn't have an all or nothing cutoff for the main event, so these tend to work out a little bit better. The Triple H for Fox Raceway is going to go to Henry. Real quick editor's note, I originally had Henry Miller penciled into the spot, but after filming this, Henry announced that he would be missing the first few rounds of the series due to an injury. With how late the handicaps dropped, I just simply do not have time to reshoot or make any graphics, so I'm instead going to suggest y'all Justin Rodbell in this spot. Only 2 of his 16 motos were outside the top 22, and both were from the first round of the season. He ended the season finishing top 15 in 7 of his final 8 motos to earn a national number and the love of Pulp fans everywhere. The 250 FFL will likely come down to the star bikes as always, but I think there are just too many star bikes out there to make an educated guess. Last year, Star took 15 of 18 FFLs with Justin Cooper, who had 2 of the only returning on the team. I think it is he or Jeremy Martin, but I do not feel confident with either of them, to be honest. I'm leaning more towards Jeremy because he has more pressure to perform, but I'm probably going to abstain from the first round. The 450 side is a little bit more clear. I think it's AC or bust. To end the season, Adam nabbed 9 of the final 10 FFLs with Marvin Muskin, the only guy to interrupt that streak. AC also has the privilege of coming into the outdoor season 100% ready, as he bowed out of Supercross early to focus on the summer season, and that could really lend a hand to his success here. The weather is going to be perfect for an opening round, a high on Saturday of 77 degrees with a light breeze and practically no chance of rain. A bit of cloud cover may make some of the vision transitions interesting, but if anything, it just means the track shouldn't dry out too much and lead to great racing all afternoon. The race day schedule is a typical West Coast day race. The qualifying pre-show begins at 1 p.m. Eastern time with Weege and Langston. I will have the cheat sheets ready for you shortly after qualifying, and you can expect those around 2:30 on Patreon and 3 p.m. on Twitter and Instagram. The gates drop for the first 250 moto at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, with a new gate drop every hour until the race day wraps up around 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Before I show you my early team for Fox Raceway, I just want to remind you all that this is an entirely privateer operation. I research, write, shoot, edit, and post every single video and post myself, in addition to making the cheat sheets and the other content I post here, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to support me and help the channel grow, please consider checking out some of the merch from RotoMoto.co, including our super rad Never Change AMA shirt that you may have seen being worn by the very handsome Travis Marks on the PulpMX show. If you are serious about upping your fantasy game, consider subscribing to Patreon for access to an additional podcast for every race, our private Discord server, and most importantly, the enhanced cheat sheets that are packed full of so much race day data, it will make your head spin. And if you want to support but don't have the scratch to spare, the easiest way to help is by subscribing to the channel, commenting something constructive on the videos and posts, and sharing social media with your friends. My Thursday team looks like this. I have Alex Martin as my 250 All-Star at a 6. Until I see how all of those 2 handicap guys shake out, I think I'm going to go with the high handicap options here. I have Michael Mosman at a 3, a guy that had an average finish of 8.5 in 2019 before missing last year with injury. Jarrett Fry for the reasons before, and Bar X Suzuki's Derek Drake at a 10, who has top 10 potential if he can stay off the ground. On the 450 side, my squad is led by Justin Barcia as an All-Star for the reasons we discussed earlier. Same with Joey Savacci at his 4th handicap, as well as Henry Miller in his 14, but my squad will be rounded out with another Justin, this time with a 12 handicap, as I am here, ready, and hoping for yet another summer of Rodbell. Don't forget to follow at RotoMoto on Twitter and Instagram for qualifying insights, injury updates, stats and banners the race goes in, and of course those ever important fantasy cheat sheets. And if you want even more help making your picks, be sure to check out and subscribe to RotoMoto on Patreon for access to the enhanced cheat sheets chock full of more data than you can imagine to help you make those huge point picks. I want to give a shout out to our current Patreon supporters. This channel was made possible by good people like John D, Keith H, and Danny. Thanks as always for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. I will see you on race day.